Hello there, looks like we're live. Let's just wait a couple of seconds to see if anyone pops in. I don't know if Mondays are good for anyone, to be honest. It's about 8 PM here in Scotland, sunny Scotland. So, hey, Brandon's back. Alright, pal? I saw you posted those Sourcebooks. Those are awesome, man. You had a good read of them yet? Nice one. Yeah, I've got, let's see if I can spin around. Where are they? I don't think you had this one. This was the essential guide to characters, but it looks like you actually have the slightly more recent one. Is it the chronology? That's one I'd like to get my hands on. But this is actually the first piece of this is actually the first piece of EU material that I ever had as a kid, and it's awesome because you flick through it and you've obviously got characters like Thrawn, you've got Mara Jade, Jur Sabaoth, and it was funny because I was looking through this, and obviously, Trevor, good to see you again, man. We're just talking about books a little bit just now. Brandon was given some from his dad. Your dad seems to have a lot of cool stuff. You should just raid through his boxes and take them. But yeah, Admiral Akbar's at the start. I guess it's alphabetical. But it gives you like all his stats and stuff like that. And the Wi-Fi's scuffed, is it? What do you mean? Am I kind of jumpy? Cutting out a little bit. Let me know, because I can stop this and I'll start a new one. I'll go sort it. Yeah, it's probably not great. I'll power through and I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, I was gifted like, I was gifted like a card, like a trivia, Star Wars trivia card game thing. And a lot of the questions are to do with like characters' heights and stuff like that. But then we're being told that the EU isn't canon. But this trivia game was produced by Disney. Thanks, Knights of Undercover. This was produced by Disney, and it's telling you the answers to these questions, like what's the height, what is Admiral Akbar's height? And it tells you the answer was 1.8 meters, right? So I go back to an original EU source book, and there it is. So you're right, it's always going to be canon. It's the real canon. But what I'm thinking is they're saying that it's not canon, but when it comes to it, they're still trying to use it as a reference to their stuff. So like when it suits them, they're going to use it, and they seem to think it's okay just to like cherry pick from it. Basically, they're like, oh, we can. It's just a big bunch of ideas that we can pick from. That's how it always was under George and stuff like that. Which I'll not get into it right now. Like I think I've shown in most of my videos that wasn't the case. Like he utilized a lot of that stuff, but it wasn't like taking it and just applying it here and changing it, you know? It's all part of one chronological timeline. But that's a really good one. I'll sit that there now. Where is it? I've got another two of those ones. I can't remember if you had, they say there is no source material. Ah, it's disappeared. I'll read that in a minute. I think you showed me that you had that one as well. You guys, you're right. It's always going to be canon. It's the true story of Star Wars. That's another cool one. It's got like Han Solo's blaster and stuff like that. I looked through that when I was reading The Courtship of Princess Leia, because it had a few details of weapons in there. Yep, you've got that one then, so ignore that. And I think I saw that you had this one as well. And it's always cool looking at kind of blueprints for ships and stuff like that. I think even the Death Star is in here. There's the B-Wing. Nice one. Source books are great. Like I'd love to just invest some money. I've got this random card from somewhere. I'd like to invest some money in some source books, especially the new Jedi Order one. Since a bunch of us are covering the new Jedi Order series, but it only goes up from Vector Prime to Star by Star, which I guess is the 9th novel in the series. But they never did a continuation of that. I guess since we're looking at source books, I'll just grab some more. Because I saw that you had these as well. You had this is the most recent one I got, like secondhand somewhere. Phantom Menace. I think these are by James Luceno actually. Is it? I don't know about this one. I know that the Revenge of the Sith one is James Luceno. Aye, author James Luceno worked in partnership with Lucasfilm, ILM, and this licensing company. So, and this stuff's obviously, it's all minor details. I know people were looking at this one when the Acolyte was talking about cortosis and stuff like that. Because is it Grievous's bodyguards? Like their electro staffs. It talks about where is it? Something to do with the material used in their electro staffs and stuff like that. And I know when I was reading Vector Prime, the Yuzhan Vong's is it the Amphi staffs? They can defend against lightsabers as well. All right, Time Warren. I'm not sure if I've seen you around, man. Good to see you. Maybe I have. I'll check out after the stream. I'm doing this on my phone, so I'm not like a professional. I'm a bit of an amateur. So we've got those, and the last one we'll look at now is the year by year. I got this second hand as well, so I don't have the proper cover for it. But this was actually released pretty close to the sale. Collaborated by Daniel Wallace, Pablo Hidalgo. So, you know, Pablo Hidalgo is another one who's recently saying that the EU was never canon and stuff like that, and just talking trash on it. But I can maybe find it. Let's see. It's talking about one of the source books. I'm sure I've posted a picture of it somewhere. Right, so it's a bit later than that. I think it's 1999. Sorry if I'm missing your messages, guys. I'm new to this. I'll definitely be going back at the end and catching those when I can get back to you. I'll try and catch them as they're coming up. Right, I can't find it. This book talks about the encyclopedia, the original one that was done. And Alora from OG Star Wars actually sent me a photo of the start of the book. Timothy Zahn did like a foreword for it, like an introduction. And he's basically saying that when he's working on Star Wars projects, that book is what he'd use. Like that tells you everything you need to know about the Star Wars universe. So as we're talking about, it was all part of the same thing. But in this book, it's talking about the encyclopedia, and it says that this is a collection of all the Star Wars stories and basically a collection of everything that's included in the Star Wars canon. It refers to it as canon. But that's really good because it's not a source book in the sense of like the internals of the Star Wars chronology. It's more like the real life history of Star Wars, from George Lucas's early scripts all the way through. And then one thing I noticed about it is, it goes through all that. It goes from the original trilogy, through the years of like the EU, and then the prequels, and then it gets to the TCW, the Clone Wars with Dave Filoni, and it starts to have like less and less about George. Like it just stops kind of including him or talking about him, and then the book just kind of ends. Like I think that's really indicative of the fact that he wasn't as involved. I'd really like to do a video about that. You're right. I mean, it is. It is, but I only say that because it is canon. Brandon, for those that can't see, Brandon's saying it's not canon. Technically, it is, but the thing with TCW is that it contradicts the expanded universe, but it also contradicts the movies. People will tell you it doesn't, but it does, right? And the thing with it was part of the movies, which are the pillars. So I'm like, if it's contradicting the movies and the rest of the EU, technically it should be down in, is it S tier, or what's the bottom tier of the hierarchy? Non-canon, so I guess it's N tier. But TCW was in C canon. You know, it was in with the rest of everything else. It's not like it was in G canon, which Leland has said is yeah, contradicts G canon. It can't possibly be canon to the EU or the movies. Exactly. But then Dave Filoni's going to come out and he's going to say, oh, George said it wasn't canon, but he said that Clone Wars was, and that the EU was just a bunch of ideas you could take from. Absolute rubbish. You'll never ever find evidence of George using the word canon or anything like that. It's quite the contrary. He did say contradicting things, but in the end his actions showed that he did care about continuity from the beginning. He cared about continuity. And he did. He contributed to the EU. Again, in my videos, I've shown loads of evidence of that. 2003 Clone Wars is canon. You're right, Knights of Undercover. I totally agree with that. Star Wars Luke UK, how's it going, bro? Nice to see you again. I'm supposed to be talking about Shatterpoint, but we've got onto some source books. You can go back and see what we were saying, and it's just turned into a TCW's not canon stream. It's hard to avoid when it comes to me. I always end up on that. I remember it was during lockdown. My wife and I started watching Clone Wars, the Dave Filoni one, and I remember, like, I didn't mind it. Like, I thought it was all right. Like, you could kind of tell it was for kids and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there, especially when you start to learn more about the actual continuity that it contradicts, and yeah, like I thought it was. I'm really passionate about Star Wars and fiction in general. Don't be sorry about it, man. It's all good. That's why we're here, to talk about true lore, canon, and continuity. And the truth is, like, everyone in the chat probably knows more than I do about it. I'm still learning. I'm kind of in a position here where I can show off some stuff and share what I've learned. So it's really cool that you guys are here to talk about it with me. So that's that one. Like I say, more to do with the real life history. It's kind of fun talk. I'll see if I can dig out one more cool thing to talk about. Ah, not cool at all. I'll show you this. Nice. Oh yeah. I'm not sure if I follow your channel yet, but if you're going to be doing that, like, I'll be following that. My mum. I said to my mum, I was like, right, if you want to keep buying me Star Wars stuff, make sure it says it's before 2012, basically, because obviously some of the stuff that came out after was written during before the sale came out towards 2014. She got me this, and I was like, right, I'll read it, because it's absolutely everything you need to know about Star Wars, and it's honestly it's full. It's just full of Clone Wars like TCW stuff. Aye, aye, exactly. It's garbage, and it's even got. It was before Force Awakens came out, so it's like got images of like the new clone troopers and stuff like that. Not a good read. Not a good read at all. I was sifting through it, trying to just trying to find something, but do not recommend that. It's a paperweight. Aye, exactly. Uh, aye, when I move house, this isn't coming with me. It's going in the bin. Right, that was a bit underwhelming. So one last time, let's see what we've got. It's a total mess in here, like. I don't know why I've got Batman graphic novels in there. What have we got? Aha! Here we go. These are pretty cool. These are like. These are old annuals. That's from 98. That's from 99. And another way to prove that the EU was canon. These are official Star Wars annuals. These have um, details from, where is it? Where is it? Basically, when it's using dates and stuff like that, it's applying to the timeline of the EU. But yeah, like it's around the time the special editions are coming out. Like really cool. You don't get stuff like that anymore. Um, aye, aye, really cool stuff. But you're not going to find cool stuff like that out of Disney and Star Wars. And even when you do, they're not going to be showing you all the ins and outs. They're not going to provide stats for ships and weapons and stuff like that. They can't. They don't even know their characters' names and stuff like that. With comic, read the Thrawn trilogy, comic version, Dark Empire and Crimson Empire trilogies. I've read the Thrawn trilogy. A lot of people start there. I started with Labyrinth of Evil. It ties right into Revenge of the Sith. That's a really good. That's a really good book, and it's got that really like connective tissue in there that just got me hooked. But the Thrawn trilogy is really good, and I would like to get my hand on the comic adaptations as well, because the I don't remember if the artwork's too great in those, but I like to show some of those when I'm doing my highlights for those books. And Dark Empire, I don't know if many of you know, but Dark Empire, it gets a lot of flack, but it was originally intended as the conclusion to the original Marvel run of Star Wars. They did like the adaptations of the movies, and then they continued past that, which is something that George was involved in to keep that continuity. And it was before Empire was even a thing. They didn't even know if he was going to make another Star Wars. That's why you had like the Splinter of the Mind's Eye. It's basically like an alternate timeline sequel to Star Wars. I haven't read that one yet, but eventually I'll get round to it. It's definitely like an alternate sequel if Empire never happened. But Dark Empire is basically a conclusion to that comic run. So the thing with Star Wars canon, you've kind of got like the Marvel run that it kind of ends with Dark Empire 2, and then you've got the novels, and obviously the Thrawn trilogy isn't the beginning of that. It's actually I believe Truce Bakura, that takes place like very shortly after the Return of the Jedi. I'm looking forward to reading that one. A lot of you can actually, I'm told, if you don't want to start with the Thrawn trilogy like everyone does, you can start with the Truce Bakura. I don't think it's meant to be as exciting of a read, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. Um, But aye, you might notice I've got my hat on, it's freezing in here. How's everyone's weekends been so far anyway? I'm like 20 minutes in and I've not asked you, what's everyone been up to? Personally, I've been catching up on some Babylon 5. Yesterday I finished season 1, uh, really enjoying it. But the thing is, like, the main character, like, he leaves after season 1 for, like, in real life issues. He was having, like, paranoid schizophrenia or something. I gotta go, guys, have to drop my sister off at work. All good, Brandon, thanks for popping in, man. It's always good to see you. You're always the first one in here. It's only my second stream, but I appreciate you, man. And let me know if you find any more source books in your dad's boxes. But I've been watching Babylon 5. I'm on season 2. There's like a new main character. Took to him quite quickly, actually. He's a really good character, but got quite attached to Jeffrey Sinclair. And what was Skeleton Crew? Is anyone watching Skeleton Crew tonight? You watching Skeleton Crew, or are you watching some EU content? I can't actually. I'm obviously doing this on my phone, so I'll see. Can't really see the chat too good. Jordan, Star Wars is here. Good to see you, man. You definitely know a lot about Star Wars. Reading Vector Prime starting Saturday. Oh, you started Saturday. Nice one. That's awesome, man. I hope you're enjoying it. You already know, we're doing the second half of it on Saturday, so you'll see me again Saturday until then. Brilliant book. I'd even say that's a good place to start if you're getting into the EU. We're not watching the Skeleton Crew. Nice one. Glad to hear it. It's nice one. Star Wars Look UK. I've actually not got hold of the next book in the series yet. That's the thing. Like, I'm going to be moving soon, and I'm going to struggle to take all my stuff with me, like my books and that. So I probably shouldn't be buying anymore. Hail Knights, how's it going, Scran? Yeah, Shatterpoint's an alright book. You can go wrong with it. Aye, it's one of the books that it's been on my list to read. I know it's one of the ones that quite a lot of people are aware of. So I thought we could just read it together. Hail the Knights. I really do enjoy the Darth Bane trilogy as well. I've heard lots of great things about that trilogy, especially the first one. I will do task 3 for the Melvin tournament. Is that a question? Yeah, you should do it. Pardon me, you should definitely do it. I'm kind of gutted I didn't join in this year. It would have been good for him to get a few more people involved, but at this point I kind of feel like I'd only be doing it because everyone else took that step and did it first, took one for the team, as it were. I'm really keen to I'm really keen to see the Star Wars Marvel purists entry. His have been bangers so far, and I know he's got a few choice things to say about Star Wars theory, because I guess they're meant to be exposing the shills this time. Don't know why I'm doing quotations, because that dude is definitely a fan of Disney Star Wars. First time reading NGO series, kind of new to you. Started reading a few years ago. Hey, you've got a head start on me, man. I only started maybe a year ago. I'd say you would as well. Oh, I wish I'd started reading the EU years ago. Hey, Scran, good to see you streaming again, bro. Cheers, Vex. Nice to see you in here, man. You're always giving praise and saying some nice stuff in the comments, so I appreciate you, man. Oh, aye, he's going to go to town on Star Wars theory in his Melvin tournament. So aye, looking forward to that. It's usually quite late for me, but I'll definitely be staying up for that. But I wanted to spend some time talking to the chat, and got on the topic of Star Wars canon and source books. So, I'll show you what I'm drinking, by the way. And basically, my father-in-law showed me this. It's a bourbon he took over from the States. It's called, what's this? Yeah, late for UK time. I try to set alarms to watch. 4 a.m. You're right. It's pretty early to catch those, but it's worth it. And you go to work tired the next day, but it was good fun. Basil Hayden rum. How can I show up on Melbourne stream? On for the third task. Are you asking if you can join the third? The third one, I think you would have to have joined from the start. So hopefully you'll do it next year, and you can apply then. Right, you pour a dram of that, like a double of that, and then you pop in these the Bada Bing cherries, and then you put a spoonful of the juice in, and it's banging. It's amazing. I am looking forward to going back and reading a lot of your comments after this, because I'm seeing some good stuff in there. But because I'm Scottish, I ran out of because I'm Scottish, I ran out of the bourbon, and I've got this flipping Scottish Buckfast tonic wine. It's like blueberry, but it's working out pretty well. It's pure like caffeine as well. You'll notice in the defo Scottish, you get like the wee tiny bottles that you can put in your back pocket. Minted. That orange stuff you drink is lethal. Oh, the iron brew. Aye man, Scottish staple. Level 8 Grandosian Bounty Hunter. Is that you, Stieg? Is that your level? Yeah, I think you had to join on task 1. Aye, definitely. Yeah, I don't think you can join the Melbourne tournament yet. You'd have to wait till next year for sure. Iron Brew banging. It is. I've always wanted to mix Iron Brew with Buckfast. It's like the two staples of Scottish beverages. That'd be a lot of caffeine though, for sure. But yeah, I saw Stieg in the chat. Stieg, we've been talking about Sourcebooks and a bit of Canon. I keep repeating myself because more folk are coming in. We're going to be reading a bit of Shatterpoint. Just a bad pun. Oh, a Scrandosian. Oh, nice one. I've got you. I forgot Steve Kenobi likes to do the puns, so we've got that in the chat. I'm actually, while he's here, I'm actually planning to do like a hangout with Stieg. He was actually involved in a lot of the streams that I liked to watch when I first kind of was what do they call it when you're in the chat but you're not doing anything? I don't know. It's not coming to me. Thank you for understanding. Of course. But I am going to hopefully have Stieg on the channel for a live stream soon, and we'll have a wee chat about EU. The dude knows his stuff. He knows a lot about like literature, and especially like Tolkien and fantasy. He's been showing me a lot to do with the Star Wars games from back in the day, and good stuff. I like talking to Stieg. He's a really knowledgeable guy. But I think we should lurkers. Cheers, Vex. Lurkers. I've been lurking a while. Before I did my own channel, and Stieg was involved in a lot of those streams that I was learning from, and started getting into the EU. So really, I like to acknowledge the people that got me into it. It's awesome. And now, tonight, I don't have to think about. Your knowledge might be rusty, but you've probably forgotten more than I've learned about the EU. You know what I mean? But now, Skeleton Crew's coming out tonight. Zero interest. I've got so much Star Wars I can read and enjoy for the rest of my life. I'm going to be 30 next year, you know what I mean? I can read it all and read it again, and I'll be gone. So I'll be out of here. One with the Force. But I've been on here almost 30 minutes. I've never talked for 30 minutes in my life, so I'll put my specs on, and like I said in the description, we'll be talking about the introduction to Shatterpoint. So if you want to leave now, you're welcome. You can come back and listen to the replay. What's Vex saying? Just started reading the old Han Solo adventures as well as the KOTOR comics. Yes, I've heard the Han Solo books are really good. They're obviously slightly before the EU kind of kicked off, eh? But I think they still fit. I wonder if they're. Tell me if there's a part in there where Han loses. No, he doesn't lose. He wins the Falcon in a Sabacc game. A lot of the games have tons of replay value too. Probably a year of entertainment there. Oh yeah, and I'm not even a big gamer, so it'd be few and far between when I'm playing those. And the death. And they did the what's her name? Sutton Julie. That clip where she screams Star Wars it was, and I'm like, dude, I've got the exact same accent as her. I could pull that off. Aye, embarrassing stuff. So, aye, I'm rambling on now, right? Specs are going on, and we'll read the intro to Shatterpoint. You can leave and do your own thing, and hopefully you'll come back. The Brian Daly dude, Han Solo books kind of fits better in with the old Marvel. All right, okay. So that wouldn't fit in with the new canon, as in the original canon. But aye, so I guess Han wins the Falcon and a Game of Sabacc in that trilogy as well. And that's one of the things I see Timothy Zahn saying a lot. He's like, oh, well, I think Han Solo won the Falcon in about 2 or 3 different ways. So, like, which one's canon or whatever. Like, he knows fine well what it is. He's talking rubbish. What's the other thing he says? He always goes on about though anyone that worked on a Boba Fett project, he's like, oh, all their work got wiped out. No, it didn't, because that's what retcons are for. It's not necessarily like the Disney stuff where books explain what happened in the movies. Like, the EU expands it, but in cases like that where you know that George, he won it in the AC Crispin trilogy, I think. Right, okay, good to know. The thing with the original EU is it expanded on it. It didn't explain it. You know, it was just extra. You could watch the movies and be just fine. But if you wanted to know more, it's there. And retcons are for it because George had creative control. You know, I'm on the first novel and he already has the Falcon. I believe these novels take place just before. Right. Okay. But good to know that. So, so that seems to be the case then. Right, stop talking about cool stuff because I need to move on with this. Got retconned was a Marvel comic and a short story, Minimal Damage. Right, so like I said, Timothy Zahn's talking rubbish just to explain away why he's writing Disney continuity and undoing everything that he did. Right, I looked at it, it's about 10 pages both sides, so we'll see how far through we can get. I'll look up every now and then and catch my breath and see what you're saying. Right, take a swig, or a scoop as you say. Zahn is a sellout. And I'd agree with that, Stieg. Like, and it's a shame because I really admire the guy for what he's done. I've got the duology there and I've not touched it yet. I've heard people say they prefer it to the trilogy, so sucks. I love his old novels. Yeah, they're really good. And I've heard other people say that, like, the Thrawn stuff is, like, his best stuff. Like, he didn't really get much better than that. Oh, dude, I did take these off while I'm talking to you. Halfway through Outbound Flight. Yeah, and that ties into his, what's the one that's after the duology? It's Luke and Mara. I can't think of it right now. But one thing, I'll spoil one thing for you from my my next History of video for The Last Command. I had to read some Kenobi stuff live in the past because Americans think I sound like him. I don't know. Well, you are Kenobi. You're Steve Kenobi. You have to sound like him. That, like, Obi-Wan, I'd say apart from Luke, Obi-Wan's my favourite character. And it was partly because when I was a kid, Ewan McGregor, obviously, he's a Scottish actor. So I was like, oh, like, Scottish people do cool stuff as well. So I I was like, oh, a Scottish guy's in Star Wars. That's awesome. And it was kind of cool connecting young Obi-Wan to old Obi-Wan. So yeah, I love that character, and it's also an awesome novel. It doesn't contradict the rest of the EU Vex. Neither does the Lando trilogy, I think. And like Pablo Hidalgo said, if it doesn't contradict anything, it can be said it can be said that it happened. You know, it's kind of how it works. If I keep losing my train of thought, there's a lot to talk about. Oh, I was going to spoil something from my video. When Zahn did the Thrawn trilogy, right? He After that there was 12 novels. I don't know if that was including his 3. 12 novels were basically contracted to be done, and he was asked shortly after The Last Command if he would do like the final book, and it was being called the Hand of Thrawn, right? And it was to kind of close that. It was to kind of close that Ballantine. It is Ballantine, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. The Ballantine, no, the Del Rey era of books. And he said, "Yeah, I'll do it, but two things need to happen. I need to end the war with the Empire, and Luke and Mara need to get together." And Lucasfilm said, "Well, no, that's not going to Bantham. Cheers, Stieg." Lucasfilm said no. Though they said yes to the first one, they said no to the second. And Zahn was like, "Right, like thanks for asking, but I'm not interested." And then about 2 weeks later, they get back to him and they're like, "All right, yeah, you can do that." So basically, in between the Thrawn trilogy and the Hand of Thrawn duology, because it became 2 books, every Zahn said every author that wrote a novel in between then was well aware that Luke was going to end up with Mara in those novels, but out of pure professionalism, they didn't say anything. So when you get characters like Callista from the Children of the Jedi and stuff like that, who was kind of a love interest for Luke, sorry, pardon me, she was like a love interest for Luke. But obviously, like even Tenennial Joe from Courtship, like they were kind of like love interests, but they get written out for Luke, and people wondered if like Luke was never going to end up with someone, but it's because they were writing these characters out, knowing that he was to end up with Mara eventually. So yeah, pretty cool. There's a bit of a spoiler for you. There's no point in watching my video now. But right, cheers to the couple of folk that are still here. Like I say, hopefully this will have, yeah, Vex, like I say, I'll be including it in the history of for Last Command. I'm going to be concluding those 3, my Thrawn trilogy videos with that, and I'll kind of round it all up for you. But you can watch the first 2 if you haven't before then. I'd like to think my videos are getting a little bit better over time. Like I say, I'm not like a professional YouTuber or anything. I'm just sharing what I know with what I've got. So, aye, cool stuff. So like I say, this should have rewatchability. My accent's naff, so you can follow along in your own book. All right. I will send you all the old EU info pics I have if you want ammo for your videos. Oh yeah, Steeg's always sharing good stuff. He was sharing screenshots from comics that Dave Filoni was clearly taking from. I couldn't believe it. Well, I could believe it, but cheers, Vex. I appreciate it, man. I'm one of those people, like I don't actually talk a lot in my day-to-day life. Like not really sure if people have any interest in what I've got to say. So a bit more confidence and I'll be all right. So back on with the specs. Stieg does great stuff, and he doesn't even have a channel or really talk about Star Wars, but he knows what he's talking about, man, and that's what it's all about. Like just being an actual fan, doing the research, actually liking this stuff, and then when people come out with this like ridiculous claims, you can show them. You can just be like, "You're talking nonsense. Like that's not true," and they'll fight back because nobody likes being told that they're wrong. Right, I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through this, so I'm going to ignore you for a minute and I'm going to start reading. But talk amongst yourselves and oh, Purist is here. Every time I go to read this, someone cool pops in the chat. Nice to see you, Purist. Yes, Steve, I know that. I know, like I was saying, you know a lot, and I've heard you talking about Star Wars quite a few times. I've learned a lot from you, so everyone I talk to on YouTube knows a lot about Star Wars. It's awesome. Aye, everyone say hi to Purist. I was plugging Saturday's stream earlier on. Dude, these flipping glasses, man. I looking forward to Star Wars Look UK's started Vector Prime. I was looking at my videos earlier. There's almost 400 people have watched my history of NGO Vector Prime video. So I know a bunch of it'll be people. I can't even talk. People that have already read it, but I'd like to think like quite a number of those are people that haven't read it yet. Matt Wilkins is the expert. Nobody comes close. You know, I'd have to agree with that. I would agree with that for sure. What was I saying? Aye, like I'd like to think I've played some small role in other people being drawn to that book, you know. It's really cool to be associated with that. And it's good stuff. Aye, cheers, Purist. I'm sure I'll speak to you before Saturday, but we're about 42 minutes in, and I keep going to read this book and getting sidetracked. Dude, you're in the UK too. I probably a different time maybe to talk about that. Right, here we go. Shatterpoint introduction. Dangerously sane. Now grab your books and follow along, alright? Try to drop Angelo's story Bible part 2. Alright, aye, you do that, man. You do that, and that'll be really helpful for me and for everyone else that are following along. Right, grab your books if you've got them, and maybe you can understand what's being said. From the private journals of Mace Windu. In my dreams, I always do it right. In my dreams, I'm on the arena balcony, Geonosis. Orange glare slices shadow from my eyes. Below in the sand, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, Senator Padme Amidala. On the rough-shaped stone within reach of my arm, Newt Gunray, within reach of my blade, Jango Fett. And Master Dooku. No, Master no more. Count Dooku. I may never get used to calling him that, even in dreams. Jango Fett bristles with weapons. An instinctive killer, the deadliest man in the galaxy. Jango can kill me in less than a second, I know it. Even if I had never seen Kenobi's report from Camino, I can feel the violence. I can feel the violence Jango radiates, and the Force, a pulsar of death. But I do it right. My blade doesn't light the underside of Fett's square jaw. I don't waste time with words. I don't hesitate. I believe. In my dreams, the purple flare of my blade sizzles the grey hairs of Dooku's beard, and in the critical semisecond it takes Jango Fett to aim and fire, I switch that blade and take Dooku with me into death. I like to take notes while I'm reading, so I'll write the page numbers down instead, right? And I can go back to it. This is really cool so far, though. And save the galaxy from civil war. I could have done it. I could have done it. Because I knew. I could feel it. In the swirl of the Force around me, I could feel the connections Dooku had forged among Jango and the Trade Federation. The Geonosians, the whole separatist movement, connections of greed and fear, of deception and bald intimidation. I did not know why they were. I did not know how Dooku had forged them, or why, but I felt their power. The power of what I know now is a web of treason he had woven to catch the galaxy. I could feel that without him, to maintain its weave. To repair its flaws and double its thinning strands, the web could rot, could shrivel and decay until a mere breath would shred it and scatter its strings into the infinite stellar winds. Dooku was the Shatterpoint. Dooku was the Shatterpoint. Ooh, I knew it. That's the name of this book. I knew it. That is my gift. Imagine a Coruscant gem, a mineral whose interlocking crystalline structure makes it harder than Durasteel. You can strike one with a 5 kilo hammer, and to no more, and do no more than dent the hammer's face. Yet the same crystalline structure that gives the Coruscant strength also gives it shatter points. Spot where a precise application of carefully measured force, no more than a gentle tap, will break it into pieces. But to find these shatter points, to use them to shape the Coruscant gem into beauty and utility, requires years of study, an intimate understanding of crystal structure, a rigorous practice to train the hand in the perfect combination of strength and precision to produce the desired cut. Unless you have a talent like mine, I can see shatter points. The sense is not sight, but see, but see is the closest word Basic has for it. It is a perception, a feel of how what I look upon fits into the Force, and how the Force binds it to itself and to everything else. I was 6 or 7 standard years old, well into my training in the Jedi Temple, before I realized that other students, full-grown Jedi Knights, even wise masters, could sense such connections only with difficulty, and only with concentration and practice. The Force shows me strengths and weaknesses, hidden flaws and unexpected uses. It shows me vectors of stress that squeeze or stretch, torque or shear. It shows me how patterns of these vectors intersect to form the matrix of reality. Put simply, when I look at you through the Force, I can see where you break. I looked at Jango Fett on the sand in the Geonosian arena, a perfect combination of weapons, skills, and the will to use them, an interlocking crystal of killer. The Force hinted at Shatterpoint. The Force hinted a Shatterpoint, and I left a headless corpse on the sand, the deadliest man in the galaxy, now just dead. Situations have shatter points, like gems, but those of situations are fluid, ephemeral, appearing for a bare instant, vanishing again to leave no trace of their existence. They are always a function of timing. There is no such thing as a second chance. If, when, I next encounter Dooku, he will be the war's shatter point no longer. I can't stop this war with a single death. But on that day in the Geonosian arena, I could have. Some days after the battle, Master Yoda had found me in a meditation chamber at the temple. Your friend he was, the ancient master had said, even as he limped through the door. It is a peculiar gift of Yoda's that he always seems to know what I'm thinking. Respect you owed him, even affection. Cut him down you could not for merely a feeling. But I could have, I should have. Our order prohibits personal attachments for precisely this reason. Had I not honoured him so, even loved him, the galaxy might be at peace right now. Merely a feeling, Yoda said. I am a Jedi. I have been trained since birth to not trust my feelings. But which feelings should I trust? When I faced the choice to kill a former Jedi Master, or to save Kenobi and young Skywalker and the Senator, I let the Force choose for me. I followed my instincts. I made the Jedi choice. And so Dooku escaped, and so the galaxy is at war. And so many of my friends have been slaughtered. There is no such thing as a second chance. Strange Jedi I am. Yet I drown in regret for having spared a life. Many survivors of Geonosis suffered from nightmares. I have heard tale after tale from the Jedi healers who have counselled them. Nightmares are inevitable. There has not been such a slaughter of Jedi since the Sith War 4,000 years ago. None of them could have imagined how that would feel to stand in that arena, surrounded by the corpses of their friends, in the blazing orange noon and the stench and the blood-soaked sand. I may be the only veteran of Geonosis who doesn't have nightmares of that place. Because in my dreams, I always do it right. My nightmare is what I find when I wake up. Jedi have Shatterpoints too. He's doing alright in the chat. Take a wee break there, I guess. Let's see. Cool. I like so far when it's talking about the Shatterpoints kind of happening, and they're like instant moments. And he's talking about when he decapitated Jango Fett, basically. Like he sensed that Shatterpoint. It was like an instant that happened. And he's talking about how these Jedi are having nightmares and they're kind of traumatized by. Oh, it's Decrepit here. Good to see you, man. It's talking about how the Jedi at the arena at Geonosis are kind of traumatized by the death of their friends. And he's saying that he doesn't have that, but then he's talking about how that's only because in his dreams he succeeds, but then he wakes up and the nightmare is his reality. So he is tortured by what happened. You know, it's just a cool scene of like Jedi's waving their lightsabers around. No, like look deeper. Star Wars is like that. You got to look a little bit deeper to see what's actually going on. Was a big loss that day for the Jedi. Yep, correct. I'd agree with that. Let's go on a little bit more and we'll talk about it after a few paragraphs maybe. Mace Windu stopped in the doorway and tried to recover his calm. An arc of sweat darkened the cowl of his robe, and his tunic clung to his skin. He'd come straight from training bout at the temple without taking without taking time to shower. Like it was a joke on Melvin's stream, never mind. And the brisk pace, almost a jog, he'd maintained through the labyrinth of the Galactic Senate. Had offered no chance for him to cool off. Palpatine's private office in the Supreme Chancellor's suite, beneath the Senate's great rotunda, opened before him, vast and stark, an expanse of polished ebonite floor, a few simple, soft chairs, a flat trestle desk, also ebonite. No pictures, paintings, or decorations other than two lone statues. Only floor-to-ceiling holographic repeaters showing real-time images of Galactic City as seen from the pinnacle of the Senate dome. Outside, the orbital mirrors would soon turn their faces from Coruscant's sun, bringing alone, perched solemnly on his hover chair, hands folded around the head of his stick. On time you are, the ancient master observed. But barely. Take a chair. Composed we must be. Serious, I fear this is. I wasn't expecting a party. Mace's boots' heels clacked on the polished floor. He pulled one of the soft plain chairs closer to Yoda and sat beside him, facing the desk. Tension made his jaw ache. The courier said this was about the operation on Harun Kal. The fact that all the members of the Jedi Council and the Republic High Command, only the two senior members of the Council had been summoned by the Chancellor, implied that the news was not good. These two senior members could hardly have appeared more different. Yoda was barely 2/3 of a meter tall. His skin green as Chidian wander kelp, and great bulging eyes that could sometimes seem almost to take on the light of their own. Mace was tall for a human, less than a hand's breadth short of 2 meters. His shoulders broad and powerful, heavy arms, dark eyes, and a grim set to his jaw. Where Yoda had let his sparse remnants of hair straggle at random, Mace's skull was smooth-shaven, the colour of polished llamas. But their greatest difference perhaps lay in the feel of the two Jedi Masters. Yoda emanated a sense of mellow wisdom, combined with the impish sense of humour characteristic of the true sage. But his great age and vast experience sometimes made him seem a bit removed, even detached. Nearing 900 years of age led him to naturally take the long view. Mace, in contrast, had been elevated to the Jedi Council before his 13th birthday. His demeanour was exactly opposite. Lean, driven, intense, he radiated incisive intellect and unconquerable will. As of the Battle of Geonosis, which had opened the Clone Wars, Mace had been on the Council for more than 20 standard years. It had been 10 since anyone had last seen him smile. He sometimes wondered privately if he would ever smile again. But it is not the planet Harun Kal that brings you in a sweat to this office, Yoda said now. His tone was light of understanding, but his gaze was sharp. Concerned for Depa, you are. Mace lowered his head. I know. The Force will bring what it will. But Republic intelligence has reported that the Separatists have pulled back. Their base outside Pelik Ba is abandoned. Yet returned she is not. Mace knotted his fingers together. A breath brought his voice back to its customary deep flat dispassion. Harun Kal is still nominally a separatist planet. And she's a wanted woman. It wouldn't be easy for her to get off-world, or even to signal for extraction. The local militia use all kinds of signal jamming, and whatever they don't jam, they triangulate. Whole partisan bands have been wiped out by one incautious transmission. Your friend she is, Yoda used his stick to poke Mace on the arm. Care for her, you do. Mace didn't meet his eyes. His feelings for Depa Balapa ran deep. She had been on-world for 4 standard months. She couldn't communicate regularly. Mace had tracked her activities by sporadic Republic intelligence reports of sabotage at the Separatist starfighter base, and the fruitless expeditions of the Balawi militias trying and failing to wipe out Depa's guerrillas, or even contain them. More than a month ago, Republic intelligence had sent word that the Separatists had pulled back to the Gavarno cluster because they could no longer maintain and defend their base. The success could not have been more brilliant, but he feared to learn at what cost. But it can't simply be that she's missing, or, he murmured. A dark flush spread over the bare dome of skull. When he realised he'd spoken his thoughts aloud, he felt Yoda's eyes on him still, and gave half an apologetic shrug. I was only thinking. If she'd been captured or killed, there would be no need for such secrecy. The creases on Yoda's face deepened around his mouth, and he made that thick sound of mild disapproval. Oh, tusk. He tusked at him, with mild disapproval, that any Jedi would instantly recognise. Frivolous speculation is, when patience will reveal all. That's some good wisdom from Yoda there. Mace nodded silently. One did not argue with Master Yoda in the Jedi Temple. This was learned in infancy. No Jedi ever forgot it. It's maddening, Master. If only, 10 years ago, we could have simply reached out. Cling to the past, a Jedi cannot, Yoda interrupted sternly. His green stare reminded Mace not to speak of the shadow that had darkened Jedi perception of the Force. This was not discussed outside the temple, not even here. Member of the Jedi Council, she is. Powerful Jedi, brilliant warrior. She'd better be, Mace tried to smile. I trained her. But worry you do, too much, not only for Depa, but for all the Jedi, ever since Geonosis. The smile wasn't working. He stopped trying. I don't want to talk about Geonosis. Known this for months, I have. Yoda poked him again, and Mace looked up. The ancient master leaned toward him, ears curled forward, and his huge green eyes glimmered softly. but when finally to talk you want, listen, I will. Mace accepted this with a silent inclination in his head. He'd never doubted it, but still, he preferred to discuss something else. Anything else. Look at this place, he murmured, nodding at the expanse of the Supreme Counselor's office. Even after 10 years, the difference between Palpatine and Valorum. How this office was in those days. Yoda lifted his head in that reverse nod of his. Remember Finis Valorum well, I do. Last of a great line he was. Some vast distance drifted through the gaze. He might have been looking back along his 900 years as a Jedi. I'm really liking the dialogue between Yoda and Mace Windu so far. And it's kind of, I've never really thought about how Yoda, obviously he's 900 years old, but Jedi like Mace, who have been trained since an infant, like Yoda's essentially known them that long, you know? Quite a bit. Cloak of Deception. Yep, looking forward to that book. Yeah, I'll take a little break here. My voice is going. Where's that? I don't know how Purist does this. My voice is going like. Right, as I said, we're out of the bourbon. We're going for the trashy Scottish Scottish blueberry wine. I don't imagine that'll help my voice, but hey. Oh, you got it for £4 on hardback. Nice one, man. My Cloak of Deception was about £10 or something like that. Hot tea. Oh, well, Stieg, British tea's another staple, I suppose. More of an English thing, I guess. It's I've not read any of his. I mean, I started The Revenge of the Sith, but he's really good at the dialogue there. Got you in the ear while I'm at work. Love the dialogue between them. Oh, nice one, Decrepit. I hope you're having an alright day, man. When I'm working, that's pretty much where I like to listen to streams and catch up on stuff. The dialogue, because James Luceno is my favourite for dialogue so far. Especially in Labyrinth of Evil, the dialogue between Obi-Wan and Anakin is outstanding. Eric Grant, good to see you, pal. If you're just turning up, we're about halfway through the introduction. It didn't take me an hour to get through the introduction. We were talking trash for a while. Well, trash, Star Wars stuff. You can maybe count the Filoni talk as trash. I didn't expect to be on this long, to be honest. Luceno is goated. Agreed. Darth Plagueis, Labyrinth of Evil. He coordinated. He was hired to coordinate the new Jedi Order series. But if you watched my video, you'll know that. So if you've not watched it, go back and check it out. I think you're right, Stieg. I'll get a cup of tea for next time I do this. Cheers to everyone that's hanging about. I'm not sure who else streams on Mondays. I know Melvin. I think Melvin does his stream on a Monday, but I'll not catch that till tomorrow. So, aye. Oh, I was showing you on the last stream. I was showing you some of the newer books. I forgot to show you the Cestus Deception. That's one of the most recent ones I got. Not heard great things about it. I don't even know if Dooku's involved in the book, so Tarkin book was almost an EU. Aye, the Tarkin one, and then that's where the whole Sheev thing comes from, I think you'll like Cloak of Deception's Grant. Me and Tim were going to cover it. Alright, cool. I'm easy to please with the EU. I'm not like... Obviously, I'm not reading it as it's coming out, so I'm not like disappointed by anything, or I'm kind of just taking it for what it is and trying to find something good in all of it. Sense of Deception is fun, but it is not essential. Not an essential. not essential really. Okay. Oh, nice one, Vex. So I guess some of us will be reading this stuff around the same time. I know not a lot. I'm saying not a lot. Most of the people I've talked to haven't read this one, but I didn't have high expectations, and I loved it. Like, I absolutely loved this novel. If you've seen my video, I've got quite a few good tidbits about that. Like, Carrie Fisher bought it purely based on the cover. Dave Wolverton wrote it. Amazing dude. Like, when I was researching for that video, just he seems like a guy I would have wanted to meet in real life at some point, you know. He based the whole concept off of, here, I'll read this real quick. It's a good read if you want a break from the bigger series. All right, okay. Yeah, Han. I love the end. Not to spoil it or anything. There's a part where Han gets kind of forced up by a night sister, and she starts like breaking his limbs and stuff like that. Like, it's brutal. And he's trying to kill time, so like, Luke and that can turn up, and he's like, "Oh, you wouldn't do that to my teeth, would you?" And she's like, "Oh, you want to bet?" And it says she shatters his back molars, and like it pops. You skipped it. Aye, well, purist, you can go back and read it. Or you can you can watch my video and I'll spoil it all for you. But aye, there's a part where it describes Han's molars as popping, and he's like screaming in agony, and he's like, "Oh, why did I say that?" It's like the only thing he could have. Like, it's really in character, I think. Cloak of Deception, early prequel novels. And the other thing with Cloak of Deception is George actually told Lucino, right, I want you to do a political thriller, but I don't want you to basically confirm that Palpatine is Sidious. Like, he wanted it not to be spoiled. But so if George didn't care about the novels, if he didn't care about the novels and just let them do what they wanted, ridiculous. But aye, Brides for Seven Brothers, like, really cheesy old musical number, but that's one of my wife and I's favorite movies. It's a good laugh, and the whole concept is that these brothers kidnap these women up to their cabin to fall in love with them. You know, it sounds a bit weird, but it's wholesome. Like, but yeah, Han's struggling to like keep Leia, and he basically wins. He wins Dathomir in a card game. He bets the Falcon and wins this planet for her. And then he kidnaps her and he takes her there, and he's like, "Right, if you don't fall in love with me by the time we leave, then I'll leave you alone, all right?" Dude, awesome novel. It looks like a cheesy romance novel, but it's, even then, like, what's the problem with that? Right, I've kept you here enough. I'll finish reading the book, all right? I appreciate y'all being here and hanging out with me. It's cool. I'm sure you've got other things you want to do. They ruined Veitch's ideas. Aye, Tom Veitch. People complain about. Would you agree if I said that Bantam books are more like Episode 4 in tone and Del Rey? Yeah, from what I've read so far, definitely. The post. Like, those early books are definitely. You can tell they're a bit more dated. Not necessarily in a bad way, but they're more dated. And then the newer era novels, it's just got a different quality to it. Like, the writing's a little bit sharper, I think, especially in books by Lucino. Like, what I've read of him so far, he just doesn't miss. And he always finds things that just make sense. Like, you read it and you're like, of course that's how that happened, you know. Right, where did I get to? Your friendship. Right, I got down to here. I don't think there's much left, guys. Right, there's a few pages. I'll keep going until right. I'll keep going until you get fed up or I can't read anymore. Known this for months I have, Yoda poked him again, and Mace looked up. The ancient master leaned toward him, ears curled forward. Wait, did I read that already? Right, aye, here we go. It was unsettling to contemplate that the Republic, seemingly eternal in its millennium-long reign, was not much older than Yoda himself. Sometimes in the tales Yoda told of his long-vanished younger days, a Jedi might have heard the youth of the Republic itself, brash, confident, bursting with vitality, and it expanded across the galaxy, bringing peace and justice to cluster after cluster, system after system, world after world. For Mace, it was even more unsettling to contemplate the contrast Yoda was seeing. Connected with the past, Valorum was, rooted deep in the tradition's soil. In the wave of his hand, Yoda seemed to summon Finis Valorum's dazzling array of antique furniture, gleaming with exotic oils, his artworks and sculptures and treasures from the 1,000 worlds. Galaxies of 30 generations of House Valorum had once filled this office. Perhaps too deep, a man of history was Valorum. Palpatine. Yoda's eyes drifted closed. A man of today, Palpatine is. You say that as though it pains you. Perhaps it does, or perhaps my pain is only of this day, not its man. I prefer the office like this. Mace half nodded around the sweep of open floor. Austere, unpretentious, and uncompromising. To Mace, it was a window into Palpatine's character. Well, that's a good point there. Illustration, I should say. The Supreme Chancellor lived entirely for the Republic, simple in dress, direct in speech, unconcerned with ornamentation or physical comfort. A shame he can't touch the Force. He might have made a fine Jedi, but then another Supreme Chancellor would we need. Yoda smiled gently. Better this way, perhaps it is. Mace acknowledged the point with a slight bow. Admire him, you do. Mace frowned. He'd never thought about it. His adult life had been spent at the orders of the Supreme Chancellor, but he served the office, not the man. What did he think of the Supreme Chancellor as a person? What difference could that make? I suppose I do. Mace vividly recalled what the Force had shown him while he watched Palpatine sworn in as Supreme Chancellor 10 years before. Palpatine was himself a Shatterpoint on which the future of the Republic, perhaps even the whole galaxy, depended. The only other person I can imagine leading the Republic through this dark hour is, well, he opened a hand. You, Master Yoda. Yoda rocked back on his hover chair and made the rustling snuffle that served him for a laugh. No politician am I, foolish one. He still occasionally spoke as though Mace were a student. Mace didn't mind. It made him feel young. Everything else these days made him feel old. Yoda's laughter faded. And no fit leader for the Republic would I be. He lowered his voice even further, to barely above a whisper, clouded by darkness are my eyes. The Force shows me only suffering and destruction and the rise of a long, long night. Better off without the Force. Leaders perhaps are, able to see well enough, young Palpatine seems. Young Palpatine, who had at least 10 years on Mace, and looked twice that. He had at least 10, he's 10 years older than Mace and looks twice that, alright. Chose that moment to enter, struggling here. He chose that moment to enter the room, accompanied by another man. Yoda stepped down from his hover chair. Mace rose in respect. The Jedi Masters bowed. greeting the Supreme Chancellor with their customary formality. He waved the courtesies aside. Palpatine looked tired. Flesh seemed to be dissolving beneath his sagging skin, deepening his already hollow cheeks. The man with Palpatine was hardly larger than a boy, though clearly was well past 40. Lank, thinning brown hair draped a face so thoroughly undistinguished that Mace could forget it the instant he glanced away. His eyes were red-rimmed. He held a cloth handkerchief to his nose, and he looked so much like some minor bureaucratic functionary, a clerk in a dead-end government post, with job security and absolutely nothing else, that Mace automatically assumed he was a spy. We have news of Depa Baliba. Despite his earlier reasoning, the simple sadness in the Chancellor's voice sent Mace's stomach plummeting. This man has just come from Harun Kal, I'm afraid. Well, perhaps you should simply examine the evidence for yourself. What is it? Mace's mouth went dry as ash. Has she been captured? The treatment a captured Jedi could expect from Dooku's separatists had been demonstrated on Geonosis. No, Master Windu, Palpatine said. I'm afraid it's quite a bit worse. The agent opened a large travel case and produced an old-fashioned holoprojector. He spent a moment fiddling with controls, and then an image bloomed above the mirror-polished ebonite that served as Palpatine's desk. Yoda's ears flattened and his eyes narrowed to slits. I appreciate you guys sticking around. Like, this is part of why I'm doing this, is to improve my reading ability. So it's getting pretty late here, and hopefully I'll get better at this. So take a wee break there, I think. We're not far away. The prequel era books are more even in quality, some the best of all Star Wars published. Cheers, man. Cheers, purist. Appreciate it, dudes. Like I say, I don't talk this much in real life. I hit 190 subs. You read better than most, nothing to worry about. Cheers, Stieg. Appreciate it, man. It's just that foreign accent that's doing it for you. I think it's nothing special. But I hit 190 subs on my channel today. I was a bit worried. Like, I'm not overly concerned with it. I'm just kind of having fun doing it. But I lost 2, and then like a day or 2 later they came back. I did hear on Melvin's stream you guys were talking about how you seen that your subs were disappearing and then coming back and stuff like that. It seems to be whenever I say something about Filoni or Star Wars Theory, kind of a couple disappear. But I guess it's just kind of like fizzling out. You know, you don't really want people following your channel that I guess they don't really appreciate real Star Wars. But even if they're not into the EU, it's cool if people hang about and can learn something about it, you know? The Mortis stuff in Crucible. I have been told that Crucible has some of the retcons from TCW. And I've also been told that that book's hard to get in hardback, but I'm determined. 108 subs. 608, I mean. You guys are cool, man. Like, if I can just have a handful of cool guys like you, like, sticking around, like, you don't want all those dead subs anyway. They don't turn. That's one cool thing about being associate other and like. Right, I'm determined to get through this. Right, okay, let's go. Palpatine looked away. I have seen too much of this already. He couldn't seem to get his breath. The shimmering corpses were each the size of his finger. He counted 19. They looked human, or close to it. There was a scatter of prefabricated huts, blasted and burned and broken. The ruins of what must have once been a stockade wall made a ring around the scene. The jungle that surrounded them all stood 4 decimeters high and covered 1.5 meters of Palpatine's desk. After a moment, the agent sniffled apologetically. This seems to be the works of loyalist partisans under the command of Master Baleba. Yoda stared. Mace stared. Those wounds. Mace needed a better view. When he reached into the jungle, his hand crawled with the bright ripples of the holoprojector's scanning matrix lasers. These. He passed his hand through a group of the 3 bodies that gaped with ragged wounds. Enhance these. The Republic intelligence agent answered without taking his handkerchief away from his reddened eyes. Master Windu, this recording is quite unsophisticated, almost primitive. His voice vanished into a sneeze that jerked him forward, as though he'd been slapped on the back of the head. Sorry, I can't. My system won't tolerate histamine suppressors. Every time I come to Coruscant. Macy's hand didn't move. He didn't look up. He waited while the agent's whine trickled to silence. 19 corpses. And this man complained about his allergies? Enhance these, Mace repeated. Yes, sir. The agent manipulated the holoprojector's controls, with hands that didn't quite tremble. Not quite. The jungle flickered out of existence. It reappeared an instant later, spread across 10 meters of the office's floor. The tangled upper branches of the holographic trees had become glimmering scan patterns of the ceiling. On the ceiling, the corpses were now almost half life-sized. The agent ducked his head, scrubbing furiously at his nose with the handkerchief. Sorry, Master Windu. Sorry, but the system, it's primitive, yes. Mace waded through the light-cast images until he could squat beside the bodies. He rested his elbows on his knees, folding his hands together before his face. Yoda walked closer, then crouched as he leaned in for a better view. After a moment, Mace looked up into his sad green eyes. See? Yes, Yoda croaked. But before this, no conclusion can we draw. That's my point. For those of us who are not Jedi, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine's voice had the warm strength of a career politician's. He rounded his desk. On his face, the slightly puzzled smile of a good man who faced an ugly situation with hope that everything might turn out all right. Perhaps you'll explain? Yes, sir. The other bodies don't tell much, between decomposition and scavenger damage. But some of the mutilation on the soft tissue here, a curve of Mace's hand traced gaping slashes across a holographic female torso, isn't from claws or teeth, and they didn't come from a power weapon. See the scoring on her ribs? A lightsaber, even a vibroblade, would have slashed right through the bone. This was done with a dead blade, sir. Revulsion tightened the Supreme Chancellor's face. A dead blade? You mean just like a piece of metal? Just a sharp piece of metal. A very sharp piece of metal, sir. Mace cocked his head 1 centimeter to the right. Or ceramic, transparasteel, even carbonite. Palpatine took a deep breath as though suppressing a shudder. It sounds dreadfully crude and painful. Sometimes it is, sir, not always. He didn't bother to explain how he knew, but these slashes are parallel, and all of nearly the same length. It's likely she was dead before the cuts were made, or at least unconscious. Or, the agent sniffled, coughed apologetically. Just tied up. Mace stared at him. Yoda closed his eyes. Palpatine lowered his head as though in pain. There is a history of I guess you'd say, recreational torture in the Harun Kal conflict, on both sides. The agent flushed as though he was ashamed to know such things. Sometimes people hate so much that just killing the enemy isn't enough. A fist clench in Macy's chest. That this soft little man, this civilian, could accuse Depa Baliba of such an atrocity, even by implication, grabbing his heart with sick fury. Stover's really good at a lot of describing things, isn't he? Really paints the picture for you. A long cold stare showed him every place of this soft man's soft body where one sharp blow could kill. The agent blanched as if he could count them all in Mace's eyes. But Mace had been a Jedi far too long for anger to gain an easy grip. A breath or two opened that fist around his heart, and he stood. I have seen nothing to indicate Depa was involved. Master Windu, Palpatine began. What was the military value of this outpost? Military value? The agent looked startled. Why, none, I suppose. These were Balawi jungle prospectors. Jups, they call them. Some Jups operate as a kind of irregular militia, but irregulars are nearly always men. There were 6 women there, and Balawa militia units never bring their children? Children, Mace echoed. The agent nodded reluctantly. 3 bioscans indicate 1 girl about 12, the other 2 possibly fraternal twins. Boy and girl. About 9, had to use bioscans. His sickly eyes asked Mace not to make him finish, because a few days in the jungle hadn't left enough of them to be identified another way. Mace said, I understand. These weren't militia, Master Windu. Just Balawi jungle prospectors in the wrong place at the wrong time. Jungle prospectors. Palpatine appeared politely interested. And what are Balawi? Off-worlders, sir, Mace said. The jungles of Harun Kal are the galaxy's sole source of thistle bark, and as well as partake leaf, ginsol, tyrone, and lamas, among others. Spices and exotic woods, and these are valuable enough to draw off-world emigrants into a war zone. Have you priced thistle bark lately? Aye, Palpatine smiled regretfully. I don't care for it, actually. I suppose my tastes are pedestrian. You can take a boy out of the mid-rim, but... Mace shook his head. Not relevant, sir. My point? These were civilians. Depa wouldn't be involved in something like this. She couldn't. Hasty your statement is, Yoda said gravely. Seen all evidence, I fear we have not. Mace looked at the agent. The agent flushed again. Well, yes, Master Yoda is correct. This recording. He twitched his head around at the ghostly corpses that filled the office. Was made with the prospector's own equipment. It's adapted to Harun Kal work. We're more sophisticated electronics. I don't need a lesson in Harun Kal. Mace's voice went sharp. I need your evidence. Yes, of course, Master Windu. The agent fished in his travel case for a second or two, then came up with an old-fashioned data wafer of crystal. He handed it over. It's audio only, but we've done voice print analysis. It's not exact, and there's some ambient noise, other voices, jungle sounds, that kind of thing. But we put match probability in the 90% range. Mace weighed the crystal wafer in his hand. He stared down at it. There, right there. The fleck of a fingernail could crack it in two. I should do it, he thought. Crush this thing, snap it in half right now, destroy it, unheard. Because he knew, he could feel it in the Force. Stress lines spidered out from the wafer like frost, scaling super-cooled transparisteel. He could not read the pattern, but he could feel its power. This would be ugly. Where did you find it? Aye man, get the book and follow along. There's still 7 in the chat. That's insane, man. Oh yeah, I'm getting 2 weeks off in December. It's awesome. I'm just going to be reading. Taking time to read. Right, one. Right, we've got 3 more pages. Like both sides of the pages. Can you stick with me till then? Think you can hack it? Back to the Neddy wine. Right, when we're out of wine, we're out of time. No, Stieg. So I was saying on the last stream, the intro, the forward from Lucas is only in the paperback version. So this this is the intro. It's meant to be from Mace Windu's personal journals, and then next time we do it, we'll do chapter 1. So this is part of the story. Right, we'll speed through the last 3 pages. All right. It was I was at the scene of the massacre. It was, well, at the scene. Where did you find it? The agent flinched. Again, Mace took a breath, then another. With the third, the fist in his chest relaxed. I'm sorry. Sometimes he forgot how intimidating some men found his height and voice, not to mention his reputation. He did not wish to be feared. At least, not by those loyal to the Republic. Please, he said, it might be significant. The agent mumbled something. I'm sorry? I said I had fixed her jaw shut, so scavengers wouldn't get at it when they, well, you know, scavengers prefer the tongue. Nausea bloomed below Mace's ribs. His fingertips tingled. He stared down at the woman's image. Those marks on her face. He had thought they were just marks, or some kind of fungus, or a colony of mold. Now his eyes made sense of them, and he wished they hadn't. Dull gold-coloured lumps under her chin. Brace-fine thorns. Someone had used them to nail her jaw shut. He had to turn away. He realised he had to sit down too. The agent continued. Our station boss got a tip and sent me to check it out. I hired a steam crawler from some busted out jups, rented a handful of townies who can handle heavy weapons, and crawled up there. What we found, well, you can see it. That data wafer, when I found it. Mace stared at the man as though he'd never seen him before, and he hadn't, only now. Finally was he truly seeing him. An undistinguished little man, soft face and uncertain voice, shaky hands and allergies. An undistinguished little man who must have resources of toughness that Mace could barely imagine, to have walked into a scene that Mace could barely stomach, even in a bloodless, translucent laser image. To have had to smell them, touch them, to pry open a dead woman's mouth, and then to bring the recordings here so that he could live it all again. Mace could have done it. He thought so, probably. He'd been some places and seen some things. Not like this. The agent said, our sources are pretty sure the tip came from the ULF itself. Palpatine glanced a question. Mace spoke without taking his eyes off the agent. The Upland Liberation Front, sir? That's Depa's partisan group. Uplanders. In a rough translation of Karuni, the name the mountain tribes gave themselves. Karuni? Palpatine frowned absently. Are those your people, Master Windu? I like how Palpatine just pretends he doesn't know anything. My kin. He made himself unclench his jaw. Yes, Chancellor, you have a good memory. Oh, I'm saying that Palpatine knew that that was Mace's people. But there is other instances where he's playing dumb. A politician's trick. Palpatine gave a gently self-deprecating smile and waved a dismissive hand. Please go on. The agent shrugged as though there was little more to tell. There have been a lot of disturbing reports. Execution of prisoners, ambushes of civilians. On both sides, usually they can't be verified. The jungle swallows everything. So when they got this tip, you found this because somebody wanted you to find it, Mace finished for him. And now you think. Mace turned the data wafer over and over through his fingers, watching it catch splinters of light. You think these people might have been killed just to deliver the message. What a hideous idea, Palpatine lowered himself slowly onto the edge of his desk. I read that pretty fast. He appealed to the agent. This can't be true, can it? The agent only hung his head. Yoda's ears curled backward and his eyes narrowed. Some messages, most important, is how they are framed. Secondary, their content is. Palpatine shook his head in disbelief. These ULF partisans, we ally ourselves with them. The Jedi ally with them. What sort of monsters are they? I don't know. Mace handed the wafer back to the agent. Let's find out. He slotted it into a port on the side of the holoprojector and touched the control. The holoprojector's phased wave speakers brought the jungle around them to life with noise. The rush of wind rattled leaves, shrills and clatters of insect calls. Dim, Dopplered shrieks of passing birds, the howls and coughs of distant predators. Through the eddies and boils of sound drifted a whisper, sinuous as a river snake, a human or near-human whisper, a voice murmuring in basic, sometimes comprehensible for a word here or phrase there, sometimes twisting below the distorting ripples of the oral surface. Mace caught the words Jedi and night or knife, and something about look between the stars. He frowned at the agent. You can't clean this up. This is cleaned up. The agent produced a database from the travelling case, keyed it alight, and passed it to Mace. We made a transcript. It's provisional, best we can do. The transcript was fragmentary, but enough to draw chills up Mace's arms. Jedi Temple, taught, or possibly taught, dark, an enemy, but Jedi under cover of night. One whisper was entirely clear. He read the words on the datapad screen as the whisper seemed to come from just behind his shoulder. I use the night, and the night uses me. He forgot to breathe. This was bad. It got worse. The whisper strengthened to a voice. A woman's voice. Depa's voice. On the datapad in his hand, and murmuring in the air behind his shoulder, I have become the darkness in this jungle. The recording went on and on. So his apprentice is killing these people, it would seem. Not far away now, dudes. Her murmur drained him of emotion, of strength, even of thought. The longer she rambled, the emptier he got. I know you will come for me, mate. You should never have done, could never be undone. I know you think I've gone mad. I haven't. What's happened to me is worse. I've gone sane. That's why you'll come, Mace. That's why you'll have to. Because nothing is more dangerous than a Jedi who's finally sane. Her voice trailed off into the jungle mutter. No one moved or spoke. Mace sat with interlocked fingers supporting his chin. Yoda leaned on his cane, eyes shut, mouth pinched with inner pain. Palpatine stared solemnly through the holographic jungle, as though he saw something real beyond its boundary. That's all there is. The agent extended a hesitant hand to the holoprojector and flicked a control. The jungle vanished like a bad dream. They all stirred, rousing themselves instinctively adjusting their clothing. Palpatine's office now looked unreal, as though the clean carpet floor was and crisp lines of furniture, the pure filtered air, and the view of Coruscant that filled the large windows were holographic projection, and they all still sat in the jungle. As though only the jungle were real, Mace spoke first. She's right. He lifted his head from his hands. I have to go after her. Alone. Palpatine's eyebrows twitched. That seems unwise. Concur with Chancellor Palpatine, I do, Yoda said slowly. Great risks there would be. Too valuable you are. Send others, we should. There is no one else who can do this. Surely, Master Windu. Palpatine's smile was respectfully disbelieving. A Republic intelligence covert ops team, or even a team of Jedi. No, Mace rose and straightened his shoulders. It has to be me. Please, we all understand your concern for your former student, Master Windu, but surely, reason we must have, Supreme Chancellor, Yoda said. Listen to them, we should. Even Palpatine found that one did not argue with Master Yoda. Mace struggled to put his certainty into words. This difficulty was a function of his particular gift of perception. Some things were so obvious to him that they were hard to describe, like explaining how he knew it was raining while he stood in the thunderstorm. If Depa has gone mad, or worse, fallen to the dark side, he began. It's vital that the Jedi know why, that we discover what did it to her. Until we know this, no more Jedi should be exposed to it than is absolutely necessary. Also, this all might be entirely false, a deliberate attempt to incriminate her. That ambient noise on the recording, he glanced at the agent. If her voice was faked, say, synthesized by a computer, that noise would be there precisely to blur the evidence of trickery, couldn't it? The agent nodded. But why would someone want to frame her? Do you think Filoni stole some of this for that Ahsoka thing in Clone Wars? But he's not as creative, so he had all the Jedi just believe that she betrayed them. Wouldn't put it past them. Mace waved this off. Regardless, she must be brought in, and soon, before rumour of such massacres reaches the wider galaxy, even if she had nothing to do with them, having a Jedi's name associated with these crimes is a threat to the public trust in the Jedi. She must answer any charges before they are ever publicly made. Granted, she must be brought in. Palpatine allowed. But the question remains, why you? Because she might not want to come. Palpatine looked thoughtful. Yoda's head came up and his eyes opened, gleaming at the Supreme Chancellor. If rogue she is gone, to find her difficult it will be, to apprehend her. His voice dropped as though the words caused him pain. Dangerous that will be. Depa was my Padawan. Mace moved away from the desk and stared out the window at the shimmering twilight that slowly darkened the capital's cityscape. The bond of Master and Padawan is intense. No one knows her better, and I have more experience in those jungles than any other living Jedi. I'm the only one who can find her, if she doesn't want to be found. And if she must be, he swallowed and stared at the moon disk of light scattered from one of the orbital mirrors. If she must be stopped, he said at length, I may be the only one to do that too. Palpatine's eyebrows twitched polite incomprehension. Mace took a deep breath, finding himself once more looking at his hands, through his hands, seeing only an image of his mind. Sharp as a dream. Lightsaber against lightsaber in the temple's training halls. The green flash of Depa's blade seemed to come from everywhere at once. He could not unmake what he had made. There were no second chances. Her voice echoed inside him. Nothing is more dangerous than a Jedi who's finally sane. But he said only, she is a master of Vapad. In the silence that followed, he studied the folds and wrinkles of his interlaced fingers, focusing his attention into his visual field to hold at bay dark dream ghosts of Depa's blade flashing towards Jedi necks. Vapad, Palpatine repeated eventually. Perhaps he'd grown tired of waiting for someone to explain. Isn't that some kind of animal? A predator of Sarapine? A predator of Sarapin, Yoda supplied gravely. Also, the nickname it is, given by students for the 7th form of lightsaber combat. I've always heard there are only 6. 6 there were, for generations of Jedi. The 7th is not well known. A powerful form it is, deadliest of all, but dangerous it is to its master as well as its opponent. Few have studied. One student alone is to mastery has risen. I'm going to write that page down. I'll need to go back. There's a few more points I'll probably come back to. But if she's the only master, and this style is so deadly, what makes you think she's not the only master, sir? He lifted his head to meet Palpatine's frown. She is my only student to become a master. Your only student? Palpatine echoed. Last page, dudes. We're almost there. We've made it. I didn't study Vapad. Mace let his hands fall to his sides. I created it. Palpatine's brows drew together thoughtfully. Yes, I seem to recall now, a reference in your report on the treason of Master Sora Bulk. Didn't you train him as well? Didn't he also claim to be a master of this Vapad of yours? Sora Bulk was not my student. Your associate then. And he did not master Vapad, Mace said grimly. Vapad mastered him. Ah, I see. With respect, sir, I don't think you do. I see enough to worry me, just a bit. The warmth of Palpatine's smile robbed insults from his words. The relationship of master and Padawan is intense, you said, and I will believe it. When you faced Dooku on Geonosis, I prefer, Mace said softly, not to talk about Geonosis, Chancellor. He's definitely triggered by that. He's got trauma, although he says he doesn't. Mace looked at the floor, at Yoda, at the agent, and in the end, he had to meet Palpatine's eyes once more. It was not merely Palpatine of Naboo who had asked. This question had come from the Supreme Chancellor. His office demanded an answer. May the Force grant, sir, Mace said slowly, that I will not have to find out. You've made it, chaps. Cheers for sticking with it. Yeah, I hope that wasn't too much of a drag for you. So next time... Oh, you're talking about Star Wars theory. Next time we'll be going on to Chapter 1, Men in the Jungle. I'll take a look at it later. Cheers, Vex. Appreciate it, man. So we'll be working our way through it, and I'll get faster and faster, hopefully. Before I let you shoot off, I'll just stick around and see what you are saying, or if you want to leave, it's up to you. It's all good. Got a wee bit of my trashy Scottish wine left, so. When's the next one? Right, so tonight, like, the last one was just a test. Tonight was kind of impromptu. Maybe Monday nights around the same time, like 8 p.m. British time. But I can try and cut out the fluff and just read the book, you know. I can always do a different stream where we can just chat Star Wars. Cheers, Vex. I'd totally appreciate it. I'd appreciate it if you did. Like, it'd be a lot of fun, I think. Especially if you don't have the novel yet, you can still learn the story, you know. Put them in a playlist. Yeah, it's a good idea. Aye, sure. Yeah, I don't even have to pick a specific day. I'll plan it and I'll do a community post. I'll eventually learn how to do this YouTube thing. Everyone else is doing it better. I'm just a lurker, as I say. Oh man. Cheers, Decrepit. I was talking to Decrepit as well. When he finally reaches 50 subs, he asked if I'd join his first live stream, so I'd be totally chuffed to do that for him. Yeah, they are getting trickier to get. Like the UK eBay isn't too bad at the moment, but as Steve said, it is getting a bit harder. Like I went on recently, like I only got Shatterpoint because I saw it on there for like a tenner, you know. And usually they're going for about 40 quid, plus postage. It's a lot of money, you know, especially for a book if you're not sure if it's going to be that great. But so far, I'm enjoying this novel. Matthew Stover's definitely a good writer, I can tell. Yep, I grabbed the Kenobi novel. Definitely. I've got a few. I'll wait till I finish that. I'm here anyway. I might talk. I might as well just talk a little bit to you. I got my Kenobi novel for, I think it was about a tenner as well. It's a little bit. No, I'm talking rubbish. My brother got this for me because I was talking to him about it. It's got a little bit of damage down there, but I'd even recommend starting with Kenobi. Really good book, especially because like he is the main character, but he's used. They really limit how they use him. It's awesome. Kind of got that Western vibe, but like they don't like it's not like in your face like the Mandalorian, which isn't even Western. It just has sand in it, you know, sand and blasters and Western sounding music. Let's see. I'd agree with that, Decrepit. That dynamic's definitely there between Mace and Palpatine. Mace, he kind of addressed how he has that kind of intimidating demeanor, you know. So you know, like I think it was Labyrinth of Evil, and there's points where like he's getting like that angry, like he's threatening to kill people and stuff like that. A lot. Anakin does that as well. But yeah, I'll show you. This was my first EU novel. I got it at here in Britain. You've got a store called Waterstones, and it's always it's just like, what do you call it? Yeah, the new Disney stuff that's there, or like the Legends labels, Essential Legends. But even then, there's barely any of those. But I was at one in, it was either Stirling or Glasgow. I think it might have been Glasgow. And I saw it was Glasgow, and this was sitting there on the shelf, like just tucked away on the bottom. And I was like, "What is that doing there?" And I grabbed it, and it's still got some of my notes in there, from my first video history of videos on Labyrinth of Evil, because there's a lot of tie-ins to Revenge of the Sith, other stuff, and a lot of history to do with collaboration with George Lucas. It ties into the 2003 Clone Wars series that we talked about earlier. It was actually promoted as like the prequel to Revenge of the Sith. When are you streaming tonight, Purist? Because maybe I can catch it. Stay up past my bedtime and I'll catch it. But yeah, so I had that. I got about halfway through it, and then my brother got me it on hardback. See the difference there? So I definitely prefer the quality of the hardbacks. But I'm not going to get rid of that. I'll need to donate it to someone or make sure it gets some good use out of it. So I don't know if this is one of my favourite purely because it was my first, or if it was just because it was that good. And I don't know, Brandon left, but if he's come back, if Brandon's back, a source book you need to pick up is the the Secrets of Shadows of the Empire. This has a lot of cool stuff of the creation of that multimedia project, and if you go to my Shadows of the Empire video that I did, I even numbered all the pages where it has quotes saying that it was all canon and stuff like that. So pretty cool. Right, guys, I'll know. Aye, definitely grab it. I'll not take up any more of your time. All right. I'm gonna shoot off and let you get on about your nights, and I'll actually go back and read a lot of what you were saying that I missed. Maybe get a cup of tea, like Steve was saying. Sort my voice out. So, in any case, cheers, purist. I think it went all right. I went on a lot longer than I thought it would. But I'm glad you just had a good time and hanging out and talking Star Wars. So, in any case, you'll see me on Saturday, the 7th. It's the 7th for everyone else, but here in Scotland it'll be the 8th, Sunday morning. But I'm not too fussed, so. And we'll be talking about the second half of Vector Prime. It wouldn't be a... I'd be going to miss if I didn't promote it anymore, so maybe the last time you'll see me promoting Vector Prime for a while. Get the calf ready, aye. Get some hot chocolate like Luke from Heir of the Empire. Or I read in Dark Force Rising, he actually has like an alcoholic version of the hot chocolate, so might put a bit of bourbon in there or something. But aye, the second half of Vector Prime, I'll be sorting out my notes a bit better this time. Like when I'm asked to give my point, I'll read off what I liked about the chapter. I won't just stumble over my words, alright? I felt bad about that last time, so it'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. Go subscribe to Star Wars Marvel Purist, Alora from OG Star Wars, and Darth Paws, the wee troll. He's like 12 years old, but we just let him hang about, so... his channel's awesome, so... aye, go give them a sub. Remember to like this video, that'd be really cool, and I'll see you all later on, alright? So, have a good time, and long live the expanded universe, lang may your lums reek.